Emily collapses. Charlotte holds her and makes her lie on the sofa nearby. She sends Anne to bring their father. Charlotte has sat near Emily, who looks pale. Charlotte glances at the book lying on a table. It is a published novel by Emily that she has written lately, Wuthering Heights. Charlotte asks Emily how she wrote this story. Emily answers, amid her coughs and unstable breathing, that she wrote it with a pen and paper. Charlotte says it takes more than just that to write such a haunting story with wicked characters in it. Emily asks Charlotte to make peace with the fact that she is capable of writing well. Charlotte leaves the room, saying there is something disturbing that Emily is hiding from her. Now the story takes us to days gone by. Emily Bront is lying in the field, talking to imaginary characters from her stories. She is interrupted by the bell ringing and knows her sister, Charlotte, is back. She runs to see her. On reaching the house, she stops behind a wall, and everybody in the family receives and greets Charlotte with pride and love. She starts walking slowly and shyly towards everyone. Charlotte Bront has completed her education at Roe Head, Murfield. She will go back there as a teacher now. Their father, Patrick Bront, is overjoyed with pride for her. Anne Bront can't wait to follow in the footsteps of Charlotte and study at Roe Head to be a teacher like her. Patrick asks where is Emily. Anne says she must be somewhere daydreaming. Charlotte looks behind and greets Emily cheerfully. Patrick asks Emily what she has been doing. She says she was practicing her French. Emily gazes at Charlotte's proper ladylike dress and says she looks different. Charlotte laughs and says she is the same. The sisters hug each other. Patrick Bront is a clergyman in Haworth, West Yorkshire, England. He lives in a parsonage with his family, his 3 daughters, his son Branwell Bront, and his children's aunt, Elizabeth Branwell. He is a widower. Emily and Charlotte are in bed. Emily is telling her about the new character she has created in their imaginary world. Bront's siblings created a paracosm and they all contributed to this imaginary world with their stories and characters. Seems like Charlotte doesn't find it interesting anymore. Emily asks Charlotte what she has been writing. Charlotte says she never got time to write anything in Roe Head. She asks Emily about her progress in French. The sisters start conversing in French. Charlotte knows French well by now. Emily makes a few mistakes. Emily brings up Misanthrope. Misanthrope is a play by Molière. The mention of it in the movie has a lot of relevance to Emily's personality. On their way to the church, Emily is excitedly telling Anne about what happens next in the imaginary kingdom in the story. Charlotte asks Emily to leave these odd stories behind once she enrolls in Roe Head. Emily and Anne stay silent about this new development in Charlotte. Reverend Patrick delivers the sermon and introduces his new minister, William Waitman, to the congregation. William is from Appleby and was educated at Durham College of Oxford University. He is here to work for Haworth's parish as assistant curate for Patrick. Patrick asks William to make a speech. William speaks about the rain, saying he loves rain. He feels it when he lies in bed and feels sad. He thinks about people in Haworth listening to the rain and their sadness, and he stops feeling lonely. He talks with so much sincerity and poetically that everybody is mesmerized, especially the women. Emily suppresses her laugh, seeing the church in a trance of the new curate. The sisters are preparing tea for the clergy at the parsonage after the sermon. Charlotte says William's words sound so pure. Emily says anyone can speak. What matters is their actions. William comes there before Emily could complete her sentence. He has come to place a plate. Charlotte introduces herself and her sisters to him. She and Anne praise him for drawing inspiration from nature for his sermon. Emily poses a question about God and the rain that silences everyone. She surely doesn't believe blindly. Branwell has got admission to the Royal College of Arts, London. Patrick is glad. Branwell is vivacious. He is explaining to the clergy the importance of arts in human life. Everybody claps for him and congratulates him on his success. William looks at Emily, who shifts her gaze down to her feet. Emily is looking forward to making up more of her story with Anne tonight. Anne says she doesn't want to do that anymore because Charlotte finds them juvenile. Anne says she enjoys doing it with Emily, but the problem is Emily believes them as real. While lying in the arms of Charlotte, Emily asks her if she misses their deceased mother. Charlotte reminds her of their promise of never talking about her. Emily asks if she sees her in dreams. Charlotte says she doesn't dream anymore. They better focus on the future, not the past. The sisters are out in the village to collect their mail. Emily is displeased that every other person knows about her going to attend school soon. In the mail, Charlotte finds Valentine's cards for 3 of them from William, along with the rose seeds. Anne starts jumping with joy. The sisters smile at William's gesture. That evening, Emily finds William helping Charlotte with dishwashing. They laugh and chat. Ellen Nussey, Charlotte's close friend from school, is coming to stay over for a few days. Emily is socially awkward and doesn't mingle with people easily. She says she will stay locked in her room until Ellen leaves. Charlotte is mad at her for being so inhospitable. Emily snaps back at her, saying she shouldn't get friendly with William. He isn't trustworthy. The next day, Ellen arrives. William helps her to cross over a wall in the way. He asks Branwell to step away as he holds her hand and gets unnecessarily close, helping her. He says he could offer his knee for her to step on for her ease. The sisters are standing by watching Emily's words come true about the flirtatious William. Charlotte tries to make him talk to her. He is more interested in holding Ellen's hands to help her walk. It starts raining. William asks everybody to take shelter under a tree. The tree isn't enough, so everybody starts running home, enjoying and laughing in the pouring rain. They look behind to see William and Ellen still under the tree. He is helping her with her stuck scarf around the tree branch. Emily and Anne make fun of William for being a playboy. Charlotte looks upset seeing William behave indifferently to her. She takes out her frustration on Emily, saying she is too unusual for society. She brings shame to the family for being weirdly different. Charlotte says she has been a fool to trust William, but it is better to be a fool than not experience anything at all. Everybody is having a good time together one evening. Broad's siblings ask their father to narrate the story of a mask he has. Patrick agrees and brings a wooden box with the mask inside. He tells that his late wife gifted this mask to him on their wedding day. His kids played with the mask in their childhood. They thought it had magical powers to transform them into the characters of the plays they read. As soon as the adults have gone to bed, the siblings decide to play a game with William and Ellen. Everyone will take turns wearing the mask and be a certain character, and the rest will guess who he or she is. They have fun doing it. Emily is the one who hasn't done it yet. She says she doesn't want to play. Everyone insists that she ought to do it, except Charlotte, who says Emily won't be able to do it anyways. Emily takes offense and puts on the mask. She is going to play her mother. She plays it in such a believable way that everyone has gone white with fear. She addresses Anne, Charlotte, and Branwell. They all start weeping and talking to her as if she actually is their mother. The wind blows the window open. Everyone is startled and lets out scared shrieks. Emily yells, "They have come to take me." She throws her head back and struggles. William rushes to take the mask off her. Anne and Charlotte are crying for her mother to come back. Patrick enters the room, asking what has happened. Nobody knows what has happened. They all look at Emily, who looks shocked. The next day, she buries the mask. It is time for Emily to go to school. Charlotte is going to work as a teacher in the same school, and Branwell is heading for his college. But it wouldn't be long before Emily will leave the school. As soon as she enters it, her reclusive nature couldn't let her survive in a crowded city and busy place like the school. Charlotte brings her back to the parsonage. To add to Patrick's disappointment, Branwell also returns, leaving the prestigious art college. He didn't feel at home there. He wants to write more than he wants to paint. Charlotte leaves, taking Anne with her to school. She has advised Emily to help with the housekeeping and not be a problem for their father. Emily weeps herself to sleep. The next morning, Branwell asks Emily to join him in the fields. Both of them are rebels. They stagger along the fields to sit on a boulder. Branwell tells her about a fight he had, and how death brushed past him. He feels like he is a different person now. He now knows what he wants to become: a writer. He will draw inspiration from his daily life. Emily says she could have become a teacher if she had stayed in school. She wanted to do it for her father. She wants their father to feel proud of her, as he feels of Charlotte. Branwell asks her to tell him what she wants for herself. Emily says she never wanted to be a teacher. They laugh together at this truth. Emily asks Branwell if she is really as strange as everyone in the village perceives her. She quotes Charlotte. Branwell says everyone is strange in a way. He goes on to call Charlotte a fake person, who has given up what she really wants, just to conform to the social standards and be praised for that. Charlotte calls Emily strange because she isn't ready to accept and love Emily for who she really is. They get up to go when Emily sees writing inked on Branwell's arm. "Freedom in thoughts." It is his mantra. He says it out loud. His voice echoes. He asks Emily to do the same. She finds it silly, but he insists. She joins him in saying the mantra at the top of her lungs. They seem to feel relieved doing that. Emily wakes up. She goes straight to sit at her writing desk and holds her pen. But nothing comes out of it. She opens the window wide open. Inhale in the fresh morning breeze. The leaves rustle. The birds chirp. She closes her eyes and absorbs the inspiration. Her pen starts moving. The words are all over the paper. Patrick has decided to homeschool Emily, since she has proven not viable for the outside world. He assigns William to teach her French. William says they will talk in French generally for the starting lessons. He asks Emily what she thinks about the sermon he gave today. Emily asks if he really believes in what he said about following God's orders blindly. She says the word blindly in English. William says he does, after telling her the French word for blindly. She makes a point. Why did God give us a brain if he wants us to have blind faith? William pauses for a moment, then asks her why she believed his translation of blindly, without consulting the dictionary in front of her. She argues that it is because she was in a haste. He says no, she knows he is a righteous man, so she trusted him without a doubt. So she has no reason to doubt God when she knows God is noble. Emily says one should form his own opinions, instead of accepting what others believe in, without evaluation. After the lesson, Emily goes into the fields to spend time with Branwell. They smoke together and laugh at Patrick for his beliefs. In his next sermon, they annoy him by bleating like sheep and suppress their laughs. Branwell isn't home for dinner. Anne asks Emily to get him home. He is in a pub with his friends, drinking and discussing politics. Emily doesn't seem to mind all that, unlike any lady of the Victorian era. The bartender asks if she fancies a beer. She refuses. Branwell asks her to try. Her first sip makes her cough, and then she settles in, drinking and smiling. Both return home, drunk. Emily is playing the piano. Everybody is captivated. Reverend Miller claps and praises her. Branwell beams proudly and says she plays intoxicatingly. Emily chuckles. William notices the use of intoxicatingly and gets to the core. The next day, Emily is having a hard time reading French text. William dismisses the class earlier, commenting that it is the consumption of alcohol affecting her focus. He asks her to stay away from Branwell if she wants to save her soul. She says her soul shouldn't be his concern. William notices the writing on her arm when she struggles with her coat to leave. He inquires. She shows her arm, freedom in thoughts, and leaves. William for sure never has seen a woman as fearless as her. He is truly surprised. He finds a crumpled piece of paper fallen out of Emily's coat. He picks it up and reads. It is a poem by Emily. Its bold words have scared William. He drops it unfinished as if it has burnt his fingers. After a moment, something makes him pick it up and read it. That poem will come to be known with the title Plead for Me. Branwell is going to peek through Mr. Linton's window. He does it every evening. Today, he has brought Emily along. They watch the family sitting by the fire, unaware of being spied on. Mrs. Linton is helping her little boy with reading while Mr. Linton sits nearby. Mrs. Linton is younger than her husband. Branwell and Emily imagine what they would be thinking. They imagine and form stories like they always do. Branwell thinks the lady is beautiful. Mr. Linton catches the siblings spying. He unleashes his dogs after them. Emily and Branwell manage to escape. Emily is cleaning and dusting the house when she happens to find a bottle of opium in Branwell's chest drawer. They smoke it, walk, whirl, laugh, and lie in the fields, intoxicated and ecstatic. Emily is trying hard to sit composed while sitting in the pew during her father's sermon. William has noticed her tipsiness. He takes hold of her after the church. She requests him not to tell her father about it. The next day, Emily learns William hasn't told on her. She looks grateful and pleased. She asks William the reason. He says it is a mystery. Tonight she is again with Branwell, spying on Linton. Emily says she wants to go home. Branwell assumes she is behaving differently because of William's influence over her. He saw them talking. Branwell tells her William isn't the right person for her. He will be frightened and leave her when he will see the maverick she is. The siblings haven't noticed that their raised voices have drawn the attention of the people in the house. As soon as they realize this, they start running. The dogs are after them. Branwell falls down. He asks Emily to keep running. Emily escapes. Branwell is held down. The next morning, Mr. Linton is in Reverend Patrick's study. He says Branwell had an accomplice. He wasn't alone. Patrick asks William to fetch Emily for investigation. Before going in, Emily tells William that it was her. Emily goes in to sit beside Branwell. Mr. Linton describes the girl he saw with Branwell. He says she looked like some gypsy. Emily and Branwell couldn't help but look at each other and snicker. Patrick whips Branwell for not maintaining the decorum. This frightens Emily even more. Her father and Mr. Linton start asking her to tell them with honesty if she was involved in this with Branwell. Scared and humiliated, she says she wasn't with Branwell. Patrick asks Emily to leave. He is about to lash Branwell. Emily begs her father to not beat him. Branwell asks William to take her out. He doesn't want her to see. The next morning, Branwell is sent to stay at Linton for days to come and tutor their boy. It is his punishment. Emily is upset. She gets out in the night to check on Branwell. She peeks through the window and sees Branwell tutoring the little boy. He looks happy with Mrs. Linton around. Emily smiles and returns home satisfied. She seems to understand and accept the forbidden love. Emily is at the opera with her father. She keeps staring at William, who is unaware, and smiles to herself. Her eyes fall upon Branwell, who is with Mrs. Linton. They are being intimate. William follows Emily's gaze and he witnesses it also. Patrick happens to see that way too. He asks William to take Emily home. On their way home, it starts raining. They take shelter in a deserted cottage. William says he warned her about Branwell's character. Emily doesn't find anything wrong with her brother's actions tonight. She instead goes on to tell William that she and her sisters had nicknamed William for his playful habits. William agrees and says it is in his nature to feel attracted towards a new thing every day. Emily sees him being honest and tells him what she thinks of herself. She says she is peculiar and like a fish. The country life here at her home is where she can survive. It is her pond. She will wither away if she goes anywhere else. And that is exactly what everybody thinks of her. William likes her description and expression. Both of them start listening to the sounds of pounding rain and wild wind. Their eyes meet, and they come close to each other, sharing an intimate moment. William steps away, saying it isn't right. But then again, he acts against his better judgment. Patrick is sending Branwell to work as a station manager in Luddington Foot. He can't stay in Haworth anymore. Branwell secretly comes to say goodbye to Emily. He gives her his writing to read and give a review. He is worried that Emily must be hating him for what he has done. Emily says she loves him the same. She apologizes for letting him bear the brunt alone. She gives him a poem she has written for him. Branwell warns her politely about William again. The siblings hug each other in pain and love. In the following months to come, Emily and William meet each other secretly. In the cottage, in the kitchen, during the French lessons, in the fields, and on the train. To cherish each other and to make love. She visits Branwell every week with William. She writes to Charlotte, telling her that she is happy. She has found joy in being a fool, the way Charlotte had professed. William is reading a poem by Emily that she had given him at his request. It is The Night Wind. He is frightened by her mysterious and dark words. To Emily's displeasure, Charlotte is back from school. She will be going to Brussels to tutor and learn more French. They are having a meal when Patrick says Emily can go to Brussels with Charlotte. Emily says she is doing okay here. Charlotte asks her to speak in French. Emily does speak in French, but to get back at Charlotte. She says Charlotte seeks to degrade her by asking her to speak in French. Charlotte would feel ashamed of her. But now Emily finds her strange for living in a box. Emily feels free, and that is something Charlotte is unfortunate to not understand. Charlotte listens to Emily insult her patiently and holds herself from breaking down. Tonight, they are supposed to meet at the cottage. Emily is there, already waiting for William. He doesn't show up. Emily gets back home and sees him at the dinner table. She tries to catch his eye, but he continues to ignore her nonchalantly. At bedtime, Emily goes to his room in the parish and beats his door. She asks what has changed. On the other side of the locked door, William looks despondent but won't open the door for her. We see him crying to himself. The next day, Anne asks Emily to bake a cake and tend to a new family in the village. William is hosting them at his place. Emily smokes opium before going to the gathering. She makes subtle and sarcastic statements directed towards William. When no one is within earshot, she says to William that she can't reason with his nature, the very nature he himself described to her. To be playful, to leave and gain something new. She says it isn't her brain but her heart that yearns for him. She professes her love for him and places his hand on her chest to feel her racing heart. William jerks her hand, breaking a cup nearby. Everybody looks over at them. William takes Emily out with the excuse that she is unwell. Once outside, Emily asks him what has made him leave her. He says what they had was a sin, and now they should stay away from each other, to seek redemption. He threatens her to tell her father if she won't leave him alone. Emily is pleading and weeping, saying she loves him. He says there is something unholy about her and her writing. He sternly asks her to leave. Emily goes to meet Branwell. Her eyes are red. He asks her if she is okay. She chooses not to tell him anything. He asks for her review of his writing. She says it was terrible. He is terrible, sitting idle and doing nothing but drinking compulsively. His writing is as bad as his paintings. Emily's opinions do matter to Branwell. He looks devastated. Emily leaves. She digs up the mask she buried. It is symbolic. It implies that she has decided to give up who she really is, for what society wants her to be. She is with William for her French lesson. To his surprise, she looks collected and not at all whimpering in tears. She means nothing but business. Later that day, Charlotte announces that Emily has agreed to go to Brussels with her. Patrick is amazed, and so is William. William, finding privacy, talks to Emily about her decision for Brussels. Emily answers with her gaze lowered down. She talks as if William is a stranger. She replies to the point and briefly. William looks confused. He says Brussels might inspire her writing. She says she will not be writing anymore. William is sleepless. He keeps thinking of Emily. He goes to meet Branwell, who is staying at the parsonage to see off his sisters, and gives him a letter for Emily. He wants Branwell to deliver it to Emily before she leaves for Brussels. It is to stop her and be with William. Branwell chooses not to give the letter to Emily. The morning of her departure, William goes everywhere to find Branwell to know Emily's response to the letter. He can't find him anywhere. William reaches the parsonage. Emily and Charlotte are boarding the carriage. William is about to step forward to stop her. Out of nowhere, Branwell steps in front of him and says Emily's response was she doesn't want to be with him. William looks dejected. In Brussels, Emily is struggling with staying steady and determined. She sees William in her dreams. One day, she receives a letter from her father. William Waitman has lost his battle with cholera. His last wish was to pass on his regards to the Brunt girls in Brussels. Emily faints with sorrow. She and Charlotte must go back home. Charlotte finds Emily's poems under her bed. She asks Emily to send them to a publisher. Emily snatches them back from Charlotte and thrusts them again under the bed. She doesn't want anybody to read them. Branwell is still a drunkard. He couldn't quit, despite his promises to Emily. His dream to be a writer and an artist couldn't come true, making him lose more of his senses. He is bedridden now, taking his last breaths. He tells Emily that he loves her. He asks why she has stopped writing. She says nothing in response. He says whatever he did was to protect her. Emily doesn't understand. Branwell takes his last breath and leaves a letter addressed to Emily. Emily opens the envelope to see the letter from William inside, the one that remained undelivered to her. She bawls and grieves when she reads it. William had wished to stop her. When she said that she wouldn't be writing anymore, he felt distraught. He said in the letter that he knows now how priceless it is, to love and to be loved. Emily goes inside the room and lies by the corpse of her brother. She wraps her arms around his cold body and pats his hair with love. She has sat to write now. It isn't about the imaginary characters of some kingdom. It isn't what Charlotte would call juvenile. She has drawn inspiration from what has happened to her and what has happened around her. She writes day and night. What she has finished is Wuthering Heights. Anne is done reading it. Charlotte has finished it just now, and she has fallen on the floor, wailing. Anne isn't surprised. For sure, the novel had a similar effect on her too. The novel is a published book now, and it has stirred something in the literary circles of London. Reverend Patrick is proud of Emily. He praises her in a gathering held in her honor. The words of appreciation she always wanted to hear came at a price. Emily goes out in the rain one night and whirls around, enjoying the rain. We are back to the present now, where Emily is breathing unstably on a sofa at the parsonage. Anne is gone to fetch their father. Charlotte is sitting by Emily. Emily tells her how she wrote Wuthering Heights. She lived and she loved like a fool. That gave birth to this story. Emily tells Charlotte that she loved William Waitman. She asks Charlotte for a favor. She whispers in her ear. Anne is back with Patrick, but Emily has already left the world. Anne and Charlotte are in the cottage where Emily met William. They are burning Emily's writings. Maybe this is the favor Emily asked Charlotte for. In the last scene, Charlotte sits to write. Nothing comes out of her pen. She remembers Emily and how she would write. Charlotte opens the window and breathes in the wilderness to inspire her to write freedom in thoughts.